We're gonna talk about how you should not make content, and this is all gonna tie back around the idea how to find your niche on YouTube. This is a pilot who calls out Gary Vee on his philosophy with how he makes content and the dangerous implications of it.
Now, I'm not going to blame Gary Vee, but Gary Vee, who has a lot of really good information that he puts out, I saw this video and I thought, maybe he has something to do with it.
Many people think they need to be an expert instead of just sharing your opinions and your thoughts. People get imposter syndrome because they think that people on video need to be experts. I remind people that the content that they put out should be predicated on the stuff that you would say at a dinner table with some new acquaintances or friends. It doesn't have to come from a place of authority, and I think that helps people feel more comfortable in sharing.
So Gary Vee's philosophy is when you make content, it doesn't have to come from a place of authority. Now, there's practical implications of that we're gonna get into that this pilot is about to describe, and then I'm gonna give you guys one specific takeaway of how you should approach creating your content. But listen to the implications of how this plays out in the real world of the type of stuff that's being put on YouTube. Check it out.
Reality is that your opinion does matter, even if you aren't an expert, let's say in fashion, and you wanna give your opinion on what's cool and what's trending and what's happening, great, that's totally fine. If you're giving information about something that you know nothing about, that's endangering other people, that's not cool. If you're giving medical advice, like if I gave you medical advice of what to do in this emergency situation, I don't know anything about medicine, so you could end up killing someone. Just like this guy who knows nothing about aviation is giving aviation advice, just like the TikTokers that I roast and all these people. Stop giving false information. If you don't know something about a subject, it's okay not to know something about it. Go learn something about it. But if you know nothing about it, stop making videos like you're an expert on it.
He's saying, listen, there's certain things that it's okay to talk about that are subjective. Fashion, food, right? But when you start getting into the nitty gritty of positioning yourself as an authority on things like aviation, medicine, faith, right? You have to be careful, because if you don't know what you're talking about and you're exhibiting the Dunning-Kruger effect, meaning that the more confidence you have about a topic, the less competent you are in said topic. That's a real phenomenon. You should look into it, the Dunning-Kruger effect. It could potentially be dangerous. And now he's going to give us an example of what that looks like.
That's the only time where I'm really disagreeing with what Gary Vee is saying. Yes, it's okay to have an opinion and you don't need to be an expert on certain topics, but giving advice to people or giving information that's false to people, that is not acceptable to me. All right, let's see what this guy has to say.
Think of an airplane as a giant bus with wings. You wouldn't really need to wear a seatbelt on a bus, and you most likely don't really need one on a plane either. In the event of an airplane crash, a seatbelt probably isn't going to save your life. It will, however, keep you strapped in while the flight attendant hands out beverages and peanuts. Even though the plane is landing, you could probably end up just fine if you're hanging on to something instead. This is led companies like Ryanair to consider flights where people are actually standing the entire time for a cheaper price.
You are more than welcome to not wear your seatbelt, but I fly more than most of you, and I wear my seatbelt when I go up to the flight deck.
This is a high quality video that's being positioned as something that is their authority or their wheelhouse. Okay, now the issue with this is something that people can listen to, internalize, and there be actual ramifications to said person. So this is going to have implications for how all of us should approach making YouTube videos here in a second. Now listen to what this pilot says about why he wears his safe belt all the time, his safety belt all the time.
The only time I'm not wearing my seatbelt is obviously when I'm getting up to find snacks or go to the bathroom or check on different things that I'm doing while I'm on a flight. But while I'm up there, while I'm seated, while I'm in my seat, I wear my seatbelt. There's no reason not to, because things like this happen. Now, I've talked about before that generally I can tell when the turbulence is coming, but there's times where it happens and you don't notice, you don't feel that it's coming, and then you don't want to have a situation where you're now injured because we're flying over the middle of the ocean, you're not wearing your seatbelt, you get thrown up, you hurt yourself, you break your neck, or something bad happens, you have a concussion, and now we have to get one of the doctors on the plane to attend you, and now the whole plane of 400-something people has to divert and go somewhere because you were too cool to not wear your seatbelt. As a pilot, imagine this situation. Imagine I go to the flight deck, and me and the captain, neither of us are wearing our seatbelts. We're just sitting up there talking and enjoying ourselves, and then we hit some unexpected turbulence. Both of us get thrown into the ceiling of the plane, and now our heads are hurt or are partially unconscious. You would think, that's very irresponsible.
If I, as a pilot, don't wear the seatbelt, it's very irresponsible for me to something happens, turbulence, unexpected, you would say it's responsible. But listen to what he says and the point he's driving home, and we're going to tie this into a very practical application point with regards to how we should be making our YouTube videos.
Same way that I feel about you as a passenger, by not wearing your seatbelt, not listening to your flight attendants, or if we put the seatbelt sign on, by you not wearing your seatbelt, you are endangering yourself, which, that's your prerogative. But now you could be creating a huge inconvenience for the entire flight crew and all the people on board because you felt too cool to put your seatbelt on. So something to keep in mind. And despite what the people of TikTok tell you, and some of those people from YouTube who don't know anything about aviation, your seatbelt is there for your safety. You should be wearing it. And your flight attendants are not just there to serve you pretzels and give you Cokes, despite the jokes that pilots will make with them sometimes. They're really there for the evacuation of the plane during an emergency. There's been numerous cases of flight attendants actually saving the lives of hundreds of people because the pilots were incapacitated, and a flight attendant made that decision to evacuate, which is not an easy decision to make, because they have to, if they make the decision and it's a wrong decision and people die, they're going to be in a lot of trouble.
I loved his entire perspective in this and saying, listen, there are certain things that you can follow the Gary Vee model. You can make videos about whatever it is you want to make them. However, when you're positioning yourself as an authority about something like aviation, about something like medicine, science, faith, that has actual ramifications, the way he described, if you're being a goofball on an airplane because you watch some silly YouTube video, not wearing a seatbelt, you hit turbulence, you freaking hit the ceiling, bust your head open, get a concussion, now they got to revert the whole plane, you would be very upset at the pilot for that, and you would also, the rest of the folks would be upset at you about that. So what is the idea here? Here's the macro idea. In the way we make our YouTube videos, it is crucial that we talk about things that we know. And by know, I mean you really, really, really know the content of said video. If you don't really know the content, and it's one of those things that falls in a category that could have serious ramifications on people, do not hop on these platforms after I just learned this little piece of nugget over here and I'm going to make 10 videos about it. Don't do that. Speak about the things you're an expert on. Speak about the things so that they come out of you as if they're overflowing from a cup. You want the content that you're speaking of, as you pour more water, or yerba mate in my case, into this drink, you want what you're talking about and the videos you're making for them to overflow, that your cup is solid and you're satiated and you're in a place where you really know what you're talking about. And then whatever goes on YouTube, whatever goes on TikTok, whatever goes on Instagram is coming from a place of overflow, not from a place of, I just learned this, I'm gonna eat this and then regurgitate it into a camera. That is not how you wanna make videos, especially if you're talking about something that has purposeful meaning, that has content. And so this is, in my opinion, I was just talking to my pastor about this yesterday. We were having a conversation about, hey, let's get more videos up. Let's get you on, get more stuff from the church to come out. Why? Because he's a guy who's in his late 40s. He's been walking with Jesus. He's been married for 20 plus years. He has kids. There's a lot that you've experienced that you know in a tacit knowledge type of way, not an informational, I think I know about this Bible verse. No, I've lived out this Bible verse. I've read the Bible cover to cover. Let's create more content from that place of overflow, because we need more experts on YouTube. And I give this advice all the time. If you're new to the faith, the last thing you should really be doing is hopping on here trying to teach people and preach. We see this all the time on TikTok. Christian TikTok, people blow up, they're doing all this stuff, and then 6 months later, they're having a crisis of faith. 12 months later, they walk away from the faith altogether. Don't make content like that. Make content out of what you know. And if you don't know what to make content about, then share your story and your opinions. Don't come on here as an authority, because real authority figures need to be on these platforms. And that's why we're using and leveraging this channel to help people create videos from a place of actual expertise. And when you know what that is, it becomes substantially easier to make the videos, to script the videos, to talk about the videos. Why? Because they're coming from a place of overflow. And if you want to take a deeper dive in learning what it is that maybe you should make your videos about, check out our free niche training. The link is in the description, and it's just a little worksheet, a training I'll walk you through completely free that gets you to sort of figure out what can you be making videos about. Okay, so that's in the description. If you want to hear about how I went from having a failing YouTube channel to making over $10,000 a month on AdSense, be sure to check this video out here. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, and all that good stuff. I appreciate y'all.